Hello again, YouTube, and I'm back with another informational video. And the reason I'm making this video here is to hopefully answer a question that was posed by one of the viewers. And as opposed to coming up with a lengthy comment, I figured that I'll just answer the question with a video. In this video here, I'm just going to. The question was, how did I find out? How could I tell or find out that I had a bad cell in my battery bank? Well, I was doing some load testing with this particular battery bank, and what I had to do is, I went just like I have the system set up now. I'm doing some maintenance, and I turned off all breakers. All breakers are turned off, and not only that, but the Blue Sea switch, or I'm sorry, the Colhurst switch is turned off. The battery bank selector switch is turned off as well. And so what I did was I went and I was checking the voltage of each cell. And I found out that this particular cell with the red tape on it, that particular cell had a negative voltage under load. The load testing that I was doing was I brought the battery bank down to like below 20 volts. And all our other cells were doing what they were supposed to do. Their voltages was around 1.1, 1.2, maybe 1 volt, maybe just under a volt. But that particular cell was in the negative voltage range. And that's an indication that we got a problem, because it's in the, first of all, that was the first indication that it was a negative range. Now, also when I took it out of the bank, it was it bounced to, as opposed to going back to 1 volt, it went to 0 volts. So essentially at that point, and then at that point it's like, well, let's do the unthinkable here and test to see if this new cell that I have, essentially new, is, well, I've only had it for a year, see if it was shorted. And so with that, I got my multimeter and I put it on continuity tests. And if you hear this sound, if you hear that sound, then that means you got a short. And so what I did was I put it across the terminals. Okay, and once you put it across the terminals, if you hear that dreaded sound, that means you have a short. Okay, so the first indication was under load while all the other cells were performing like they should. This one was in the negative digits, or the negative values as far as voltage. Basically, it was reverse polarity. And so the next thing, when you take it out of the bank, it goes to 0, as opposed to bouncing back to a normal 1.0 volts or higher. So that was the next indication. And the final test to see if it was shorted was to use the multimeter and test for continuity. And once you hear that, once I tested for continuity, I heard the sound, that dreaded sound, and that means there was a short. Now, when we have a short with these nickel iron or nickel cadmium cells, essentially that short turns that battery or that cell into one of these. This is a power resistor. This is a resistor, okay? A power resistor. And this is called power ohm. I just use it to as load testing and stuff like that. Essentially, this thing, you hook up a battery to it, this thing will heat up. And so essentially, it will generate heat. So the energy going through it will be dissipated as heat. So, and when this cell becomes shorted, you essentially have a big resistor. And it will essentially bring the battery bank, the rest of the cells, down, because that's a continuous load on the bank. So it needs to be fixed or removed. Well, it needs to be removed in any case. It's either you either need to fix it, replace it under warranty, or throw it away. So in this case, I repaired the cell, and the cell has been running for a while in the bank. And to test it, so to make sure that the cell is repaired, obviously you need to just do first I did a continuity check, make sure it's not shorted, and then I did a voltage check. And if you look right here, this battery is it's at nighttime, so these cells are not being charged, and so they're not under load. And this is the voltage of the cell at rest. Okay, this is the voltage of the cell at rest at 1.44. Now, and you see that red marks the spot. Now, if I go to the next cell in the chain, okay, this is the other cell. This is the cell right next to it. You'll see that its voltage is 1.45. All right, so 1.4, 1.45, they're still in the same range of each other. Okay, they're still in the same range of each other. And so that means, they're doing, it's holding a voltage the way I expect it to. All right. No battery, no cell is exactly the same. So there will be slight differences, but those differences are not, won't be exaggerated like if it was shorted. If it was shorted, this cell would actually be like 0. Okay. And it will be pulling power from the rest of the bank. So that's how I know that it's good to go. And this has been running like this. This has been in the bank for over a week now. So it's been running just fine. Now all of my cells, all 20, are doing exactly what I need them to do. So so that's basically it. So essentially, you check to make sure that you essentially turn off all the circuits and break the circuits. Turn off all the circuit breakers and so forth, and you just check each cell for continuity. You can check the voltage to make sure that the voltage is legit, and also check the cell for continuity to see if there is a short. There should not be any sound. There should not be a short in the cell. And that should be it. Okay. All right. Hopefully that answered your question. And if you have any other questions, just post it, and I'll try to answer it, to the best of my ability. Again, so far the cells are doing exactly what I need them to do. It was unfortunate that I found one bad cell. That doesn't mean that the rest of the bank is bad. And as I said before, the rest of the bank is fine. Now I have 20 functioning cells. Okay, where I had 19 before. I didn't know I only had 19, but now I fixed it, so I do have 20 functioning cells. So I'm not really sweating it. But anyway, the cells, again, they're working fine. They're doing exactly what I need them to do. I use them pretty much every night, except when there's like thunderstorms on the way to the next day. So I want to keep power in the bank for backup purposes and stuff like that. So I don't really drain them as much when there's a storm brewing, and it's projected that the storm is going to be pretty intense. But if it's going to be like a partly cloudy day or sunny day, I'll drain the bank. I'll use it at night, and then in the morning, recharge as normal. But anyway, hopefully this answered your questions, and take care.